At night, Jin Song-yi is off to a wedding. On a fancy yacht, no less. Dressed to the nines, naturally. She gets her assistant to fetch a pair of shoes, identical to another. Meanwhile, Do Min-jin sees those shoes on the big screen. The very ones from his dreams. Recalling the dream, he senses trouble brewing. On the other side, Hanyura flashes her dazzling white legs, striking a stunning pose. Jin Song-yi, seeing this, promptly sheds her coat. The woman, not to be outdone, responds in kind. The bride asks what they're up to. But just then, a flash of light blinds everyone. Hanyura asks the photographer for a redo. So they reset their poses, leaving the bride quite awkward. Later, in the restroom, a ruckus is heard. Rushing over, it's Saijing arguing with Hanyura. He thought they were whispering sweet nothings, while Hanyura's bag was left in the restroom. Soon, Jin Song-yi arrives in the hall with the bag, asking if anyone's seen Hanyura. No one has, not knowing. That was their last glimpse of her. Meanwhile, Do Min-jin at home feels it's time to go to Jin Song-yi. He steps through the door and lands on the yacht, using his powers to wreck the cameras. As the wedding party kicks off, Do Min-jin searches for Jin Song-yi, destroying every camera in sight. Suddenly, he spots her, drunkenly teetering at the yacht's edge. Jin Song-yi notices him just as the ship starts to rock violently, echoing the scene from his dream. In a split second, Do Min-jin freezes time with his powers and whisks Jin Song-yi back to the hotel. As he's about to leave, she grabs him by the neck. Do Min-jin starts to explain, but Jin Song-yi shushes him, savoring her dream. Coming out of the cabin, Do Min-jin bumps into Jin and his men plotting to kill Hanyura. A flash from Jin's ring blinds him, and he's spotted. Jin signals his men to chase, but they find no one, leaving them puzzled. Do Min-jin teleports home, but slips and tumbles down the stairs, luckily unharmed. The next day, the news reports top star Hanyura's death by drowning, cause unknown. Jin Song-yi is the prime suspect, sparking widespread gossip, as they were seen arguing before the death. The story blows up online, and reporters swarm Jin Song-yi's neighborhood. He gets a call from his assistant about Hanyura's death, and rushes out, but is told to avoid the elevator. Realizing there's no need to flee, he panics when the elevator nears his floor. In his haste, he forgets the door code, but Do Min-jin suddenly opens his door, like grabbing a lifeline. Jin Song-yi pushes Do Min-jin into the room. Before the door shuts, reporters barge in, leaning against the door. Hearing their roars, he pleads with Do Min-jin not to kick him out. Suddenly, his stomach growls, and he asks if there's any ramen. Do Min-jin, unimpressed by his puppy eyes, drags him to the door. Outside, it's a sea of reporters. Seeing Do Min-jin, they swarm him, asking if he knows Jin Song-yi. Do Min-jin tells them to leave, then coolly walks away, leaving Jin Song-yi relieved. Lying on the sofa, Jin Song-yi grumbles about Do Min-jin, who seems as cold and alien as someone from outer space. Suddenly, the sound of the door opening startles her. Do Min-jin drops a bag and heads back to his room. Jin Song-yi checks the bag and finds oranges and instant noodles, realizing Do Min-jin had gone out to get him food. So, he devours the noodles, chopsticks perched on his head, wolfing down every delicious bite, even the last drop of soup. But then he realizes he's eaten it all, despite planning to stop after just 3 bites, which worries her so much. The next morning, Do Min-jin finds the house a mess, and Jin Song-yi sprawled out, reading upside down. Do Min-jin asks what she's doing, and Jin Song-yi says she's exercising. Do Min-jin tells him to clean up, but Jin Song-yi ignores him, irking Do Min-jin, who yanks away his pillow. Jin Song-yi kicks back, not backing down, until Do Min-jin tackles him onto the sofa. Their fight continues until Do Min-jin pins him down. Just then, lawyer Shilin walks in, catching them in the act. Do Min-jin, realizing the situation, greets him as dad. He calls Shilin dad because he needs an identity to live on Earth. Then the 3 of them enjoy dinner together, and according to Jin Song-yi's instructions, Minjin goes shopping for household supplies. On the way home, he sees Jin Song-yi's posters being taken down, and the reporters dispersing from the hallway, signaling the end of Jin Song-yi's entertainment career. He doesn't want to tell Jin Song-yi, who's thinking of going out for some air. Under his influence, a vase falls off the table. Then her phone rings. His assistant tells her endorsements, and film roles are all cancelled. Furious, she plans to clear things up with the media, but Do Minjin stops her. It's not that Do Minjin doesn't want her to explain, but Jin Song-yi had forgotten the pain from stepping on the broken vase. Do Minjin picks him up, feeling guilty, wondering how she'd face the world if Hanyura really died because of her. Do Minjin puts her on the sofa, reassuring her. Hanyura's death wasn't your fault, so stop worrying. Then he steps out to buy medicine, returning to dress Jin Song-yi's wounds himself. Jin Song-yi is lost in thought, touched by the care, something he hasn't felt in a long time. After Jin Song-yi leaves, Do Minjin feels a twinge of loss looking at the sofa. Even while eating fish, he remembers Jin Song-yi's dislike for flipping fish, so he leaves it be. Standing on the balcony, looking at the removed billboard, he can't help but glance towards Jin Song-yi's house, realizing he's always on his mind. The next day, back at the agency, his agent tells him the advertisers and production team have canceled their contracts. Deciding to take the initiative, he visits each advertiser and production team with his assistant, finding reasons to refuse working with them. The evening through photos, Zaijing finds out Jin Song-yi picked up Hanyura's bag, which contains a USB drive harmful to him. To retrieve it, Zaijing makes an excuse to meet Jin Song-yi. Do Minjin spots him as he arrives at the underground garage. Finding him vaguely familiar but unable to place him, suddenly the cops show up looking for Do Minjin. Because on the day Hanyura died, they found out he was there too. But guess what? His name wasn't on the guest list. So, off he goes to the police station for a little chit-chat. Then it hits him, that ring, the one he saw on that dude on the boat. He realizes something's fishy. Meanwhile, the cops are like, what were you up to on the day you're kicked the bucket? Do Minjin bolts out of the car, dodging traffic like he's in some action movie. The cops think he's pulling a Houdini on them, chase him down the street. Then, poof, Do Minjin vanishes as a car whizzes by. Cut to Zaijing, already at Cha Song-yi's place. While she's brewing him some java, he's in her room, rummaging for Hanyura's bag. But no luck. Song-yi finds him in her closet, asks what's up. He bluffs about just looking around. But then, during their small talk, he asks about Zaijing's plan to announce something with Hanyura, putting him in hot water. In the middle of their chat, Hoojing shows up out of the blue, wondering what his big bro's doing at Song-yi's. Soon after, Do Minjin arrives. But who opens the door? Hoojing. And he's not letting this mystery man in. So Do Minjin gets dragged outside, while Song-yi's left scratching her head at his sudden visit. Not a very happy encounter. Next day, Song-yi hangs her bag on the rearview mirror, slips on some sassy lace gloves, and those killer sunglasses, clueless about her own terrible driving, singing and steering, annoying everyone behind her. She's like, if you can't drive, stay off the road. Pulls into a gas station. The attendant asks, petrol or diesel? She is clueless. Then realizes her bag's gone missing. Turns out, she left it hanging outside. After refueling, the attendant asks for a signature. She thinks he wants her autograph, so gives him a signed photo, leaving him baffled. Finally, at the school gate, she needs to swipe a card to open it, but parked too far. Leans out the car, still can't reach. Another car shows up behind her. She dives back in, hiding like a ninja, afraid they'll realize she's the infamous superstar. Somehow makes it into the campus. Then the parking saga begins. After what seems like a million tries, she parks. Then, bam, someone rear-ends her. She spots the guy in the mirror. It's that nosy reporter from before. He heads over, she freaks out, turns away, ignoring his knocks on the window, telling him no need to pay for damages. But the reporter already knows who she is, and it's all part of his plan. Soon, a swarm of reporters surrounds her. Back in the classroom, Professor Do notices Cha Song-yi hasn't shown up. So he peeks out the window seeing his superpowers and sees Song-yi surrounded by paparazzi. Do rushes to the scene, exposes the reporter's staged car crash, accusing him of attempted murder, no less, and warns the journos about privacy rights, scaring them silly. The power of education. He opens the car door, tells Song-yi to only hide when she's done wrong. Hand in hand, they leave under everyone's gaze. But those pesky reporters just won't quit. They try to snap pics, but all their cameras are suddenly on the fritz. Then Do takes her to a museum. Song-yi spots a hairpin, and it hits her hard in a way she can't explain. Do watches, his heart aching. That night, Hoojin plans to confess his love. Lures Song-yi to the amusement park. There, Do shows up, takes Song-yi away. Hoojin tries to claim her back. Tells Do he can leave. But Do tells him to bring her home early. Hoojin wonders why he's so obedient. They head to the Ferris wheel, leaving Do alone. He can't resist using his powers to watch them. Remembers Song-yi's sadness at the hairpin. 400 years ago, a similar scene plays in his mind. They were being chased. The girl pulled out the hairpin he gave her, saying goodbye with tears in her eyes. But they were caught. She took a fatal blow for him. He realized his love as she died in his arms. He knows Song-yi is her reincarnation. Hoojin confesses to Song-yi. Do hears it all. Freezes time, afraid of her answer. When time resumes, Song-yi's response to Hoojin is just a sorry. That same night, an assistant returns Song-yi's lost bag. It's actually Han-yura's. He drops it, finds a USB drive. Curiously, he watches a weird video on it. It's Han-yura, looking desperate. He thinks it's an old short film, unaware that Saijing sees everything, and starts plotting suddenly. The doorbell rings. It's Do bringing food. They share a pot of udon. Do notices something off with a teddy bear. Song-yi says it's a fan gift, but Do finds a hidden camera in its eye. Song-yi is terrified. Next day, Do takes her to a boutique. Song-yi can't figure out who's spying on her. As she's about to leave the store, Do spots someone trying to kill her. She looks up to see a man in black dropping glass from above. Do uses his powers to save her just in time. Song-yi faints from shock. He controls the attacker with his powers. Just then, Sammy sees this. Remembers 15 years ago? The same man saved Song-yi. Wondering how he hasn't aged, she's horrified. After taking Cha Song-yi to the hospital, she asks Do how he saved her when he was in the car. Faced with her question, Do says she saw it wrong and heads to the police station for a statement. Turns out, the man in black was caught. He admits to harassing Song-yi, but denies planting any spy cameras. Do realizes someone else is targeting Song-yi. Meanwhile, Song-yi is drugged and wheeled into an elevator. Do frantically calls her, but no answer. Returning to the hospital room, he finds only her left-behind phone. At a desolate cliff, a man puts unconscious Song-yi in the driver's seat. Another sabotages the brakes. They're staging a car accident. After setting it up, they push the car towards the cliff. As the car speeds up, Song-yi regains consciousness. Panicked, she sees the cliff approaching. At the same time, Do uses his powers to listen for Song-yi's voice within miles. Song-yi, terrified, wonders who's trying to kill her. She frantically pumps the useless brakes. As danger looms, screams for Do from the city's highest point, finally hears her as the car nears the abyss. Do swoops down in the nick of time, stopping the car right at the cliff's edge. Song-yi, seeing Do quickly gets out of the car. Trembling, she steps out, but there's no one in front. Staring at the shattered headlights, she's sure Do was there, but wonders, why can't she see anyone?